Hi guys, I just wanted to give you a breakdown of my thoughts very quickly before I move on to the reports that I've got at the moment. 9:23 is a date, the 23rd of September. 9:23 is also a date range from the 9th of September to the 23rd of September, in my opinion and interpretation. 9:23 is also 9/11, with 23 being the 24 format of the number 11. So what is the possibilities leading up to that? My thoughts are obviously 9/9 we had North Korea's 70th anniversary, 9/11, 9/11 Memorial, Tower of Voices Memorial, the cryptic language used by Donald Trump in association with Puerto Rico, the hurricane there, and the possibility that he was talking about geoengineering and directing the hurricane and how that was difficult and not the actual recovery because the recovery has been a sham and that's just the truth. 9/12 Hurricane Olivia going through Hawaii. That's currently right now. It's the 13th of September 2018 at 1:55 in the morning over here in the UK. But in Hawaii, the they're obviously a little bit behind the time in Hawaii.
The time in Hawaii, USA is 2:55 p.m. on Wednesday.
So they're still in the afternoon. And from my interpretation, I'm expecting something around Kilauea to happen around 11 o'clock at night, 11:30 to be a little bit more accurate. Obviously, the USGS took down the live feed of Kilauea, obviously because Kilauea had stopped, erupting essentially. That would be the excuse that they use, of course. But we know that there's reports of activity at Fischette number 8, a little cone forming inside, a glow being seen. So clearly there's something going on there, and we know that NASA sent a submarine down there, possibility of a missile being used, a tactical nuclear missile being used in order to set off the volcano and these events after 9/11. This then being the blood sacrifice with Helena slump and the landslide tsunami affecting the west coast. So 9/13, the effects of Hurricane Florence begin to be felt on the east coast at the same time as there is the tsunami on the west coast. So if the event at Kilauea happens at around 11:30, that would be on the 12th, but it would be the 13th on the west coast. That would be about 3, I think about 3:30 in the morning or 2:30 in the morning, one of the two. But that's how you can easily cross over two dates. So 9/12 in one place, 9:13 in the other. So the tsunami on the west coast comes from Kilauea, or it could be linked to the earthquake coming from New Zealand. They're expecting an earthquake 8.1 magnitude or more along the Alpine Fault. So we'll see if maybe that's linked in. Could be that earthquake there is also used as some sort of excuse as to why Kilauea has erupted, not to mention the hurricane possibly being used as an excuse as why the volcano has erupted. There's obviously, they're using a lot of different things to cover up what could potentially be just a man-made event in terms of a nuclear device into a volcano. There's some more interesting reports coming up after this, which I'm going to get to. So the two might be linked. The stock markets would begin to plunge if a tsunami was to hit the west coast. Obviously, you've got Silicon Valley there and all these big businesses. So by Friday the 14th, markets wouldn't open, in my opinion. They'd be frozen from the day before, Thursday, after they closed and the stock market started to fall. Conveniently, this would give bankers and people like them an opportunity to get out before the EMP blackout. There's a couple of scenarios surrounding how this EMP could be generated. I've pretty much gone through them all, so I'm not going to excuse me. I'm not going to rehash them. I'm just going to, just leave it as there's no electricity. This, in my opinion, is when the nuclear reactors are in danger. If it is an EMP, it's not the same as just having a blackout because you've got generators. EMPs would affect generators as well, I believe. So, that then gives you the potential for nuclear reactors kind of melting down, reaching critical, and obviously there being a large-scale disaster, large-scale nuclear disaster, which again is another thing they have planned. So after all that, by 9:15, by 9:15 around that time, Hurricane Isaac will be passing through the Caribbean and possibly Puerto Rico. And we've heard the cryptic language that Donald Trump used in association with Puerto Rico and this possible hurricane striking them twice, or three times rather, from the first two last year and this year, possibly Hurricane Isaac. It will be strengthening when it passes to the south of Puerto Rico. In the early models that we've got, that's how it's showing passing to the south. Obviously, that could change, but it does strengthen, possibly to a Category 3, passing over Haiti, and then it goes into the Gulf of Mexico, where it hasn't really given enough trajectory for me to be able to tell whether it's heading more towards the west coast of Florida or whether it's going to head into like the Alabama, Louisiana kind of region, or even Texas. So keeping an eye on that as well. Meanwhile, on the same day, 9:15, the tsunami comes on the east coast, which also is the 2nd of September on the Julian calendar, which again is 9/11. A possible strike on New York and or Florida, kind of depicted as well. At the same time, a strong Category 5 typhoon called Mangkhut is in Taiwan, and the possibility for World War III starting in the Middle East with the offensive launched in Syria, specifically Idlib, where all these forces from different countries are gathering at the moment. That's where it could begin. Both sides will be facing off, during which the Dome of the Rock could be destroyed. Damascus already is a ruin, but could be left in even more of a ruinous heap. According to the Bible, separately, Israel attacks Iran, Iran responds and also blocks the Strait of Hormuz. I'll get to the reasons why Israel will attack Iran shortly. That's in the report that's coming up afterwards. The US Navy would move in if Iran blocked the Straits of Hormuz, as they said they would do. From the propaganda video that we saw Iran release this year, a tsunami would be used to destroy the US Navy. On the same day, according to the IPEC Go video, China moves into North Korea, facing off against the US, Japan, and South Korea. Possibly not Japan if they're playing a duplicitous role, considering they've lowered their alert level against North Korea, but they've done something today with the US that could actually spark a response from North Korea. So again, you've got that duplicitous role. I'm very suspicious of them. Remember, the tsunami on the west coast would have already affected places like Hawaii, Guam, the Marshall Islands. So if China was advancing into North Korea and facing off against the US, Japan, and South Korea, there would be no reinforcements coming to the aid of the troops in South Korea from those islands that have been affected, which would mean support would have to come from the mainland United States, where a tsunami's just hit. So again, kind of unlikely that support is going to be coming swiftly. Now we move on to 9/17, where the UK has a possible event scheduled. It's either chemical or tsunami-like in nature. I think the chemical attack would come first, in my opinion, possibly related to the public transport, TfL. Then 9/18, Hurricane Helen comes in. Hurricane Helen meaning light, torch, bright. That comes in as a Cat 1, maybe a Cat 2, hitting the southwest of England. The tsunami comes, I believe, during that same kind of time frame when Helen is hitting the UK. This would leave the UK coast and central London flooded. Central London because the River Thames runs right through central London, and obviously the swell in the water would cause the river to overflow its banks and flood central London. How badly would depend on how bad the tsunami is. Immediately after that, moving into 9/19, we get hit by a large storm system called Ali. The name Ali meaning high elevated champion, followed by another large storm which is called Brona or Bronag. This is on 922, and the name of that storm system means sorrow, um, which could link to, again, in the iPad Go video I'm just going to show you now. In the scene here, it will show. We've got a problem with this video. I don't know why I use it. Give me 1 second. So yes, in that particular frame there, he had, just before we came outside the classroom, again another possible layer of meaning to the drop on Obama's forehead, the sorrowful look on his face, the UK pound with the crown under the foot. So could be related to the UK as a whole, the royal family, maybe it's associated with TFL. But again, 22 sorrow. We have a storm system called Brona, which means sorrow, coming in on the 22nd. So, just another possible layer of meaning for me to convey to you guys. And then 923, possible nuke attack on the UK. So 923 is a representation of 9/11, with the United States and the UK, leaders of the West, hurt bad. China can emerge as the great dragon. Their country's symbol is the dragon, and I believe they would be the ones who would be instrumental in implementing the New World Order. They've got their ghost cities, they've got the biggest army, so able to control a smaller population after all these other events have happened, thinning out mankind. No religion would be allowed. China's a communist nation, most likely only to worship or revere the leader, which may or may not be Xi Jinping. Most likely it would, because they've just this year appointed him as president for life, so that's not going to be changing. People have to pay homage to him, I'm guessing, or at least to his image, pictures, just like they do in North Korea. Put up pictures and people come and leave flowers and, pray and stuff to this image, which is basically an idol, which obviously we know that our Heavenly Father absolutely hates. And Christians, especially, will be heavily persecuted and told to renounce their faith or die. And obviously many will die as martyrs, and I believe those will be the ones that return with Jesus at the end, as we're told in the Bible. Many more, though, than who die for their faith will accept the rejection of our Heavenly Father by accepting the mark of the beast and entering into the beast system. So, in my opinion, 923 pretty much sees the end of the old world order and the beginning of the new world order and the mark of the beast system. 923:18 is also 1 year after the greatest of all the heavenly signs was shown to us on 923:17, the Revelation 12 sign. These are just what I think are my thoughts. So, with that said, getting into the reports of the moment, a spat of whale deaths off Scottish coast could have been caused by Navy's hunt for Vladimir Putin's hunter-killer subs stalking our coast. This was published yesterday, 12th of September. So we're getting a lot of whale and dolphin deaths washing up on Scotland shores and Ireland shores, and it's been surmised that it's because of the the UK Navy or the Royal Navy hunting for Russian subs. And we know that the Royal Navy have said that the levels of subs that they've seen have been the highest since the Cold War, and we've got plenty of hurricanes for those subs to move under, and potentially are doing so as I'm speaking right now. Very interesting to see how nature is reacting and how that may relate to the Bible in terms of, the animals being taken away, the fish of the sea being taken away, the sea being turned to blood. In terms of, the sea being turned to blood, you've got the possibility of that being connected to tsunamis or nuclear explosions underwater, which, poison the water and contaminate it, ocean temperatures warming and stuff like that, and animals not being able to survive in such temperatures. Many different situations, but the sea turned into blood, reference from the Bible, can be implemented in various different ways and come to the same result. At the same time, it kind of reminds me of the political speak that's been going on in terms of the blue wave, which then the Republicans started coming out of their own, which was the red wave. And when you think about that, when there's a blue wave turn to a red wave, when there's a contamination in it of most likely blood. Um, so, it could be that all this blue wave, red wave talk, again, another in-your-face subliminal message to what the blue wave would do, which is, kill a lot of people. So, thinking about all those things, you've got, this is the image of storm system Ali, which is the storm system I was talking about in that little report I just had written out there. As I said, the name means high, elevated, or champion. That storm system comes in just after Hurricane Ellen comes in, which is light, torch, bright. If you put those two together, light, torch, bright, high, elevated, champion. In their context, again, it's another kind of illuminated Antichrist reference. And then after Storm System Ali comes in on the 18th and the 19th, we then have another system follow after that coming from here, which is the one called Brona, which is the one whose name means sad, sorrowful, or basically sorrow. And again, that could connect to what we see here, a reference to 22 in terms of the V, a sorrowful look on the face, the UK pound coin under the foot, and obviously things may have been happening before that in relation to tsunami event, a chemical attack. The options pretty wide ranging, but now we have some clear indications of things moving faster. 4 months after Trump abandons nuclear deal, Iran says it's ready to enrich uranium faster than ever. Remember the reports of them telling their atomic agency to basically ready the Natanz facility for nuclear enrichment or for producing centrifuges that could produce higher enriched uranium. Sorry. So Iran's top nuclear official told the Associated Press this week in his first comments since the US withdrawal that Iran has completed a facility at its Natanz enrichment center that could build more advanced centrifuges that enrich uranium up to 10 times as fast as before. After that came out, Israel quickly responded by saying if Iran chooses to continue pursuing a nuclear program, it will face a military answer. That obviously gives you an indication that they're definitely not willing to allow Iran to come to any sort of stage where they may be completing their nuclear program. As far as they're concerned, the news of the Natanz facility being able to produce enriched uranium at a faster rate is enough reason for them to send out this warning, which could possibly be followed by actual action. Katz says if Iran presses forth, it will face a direct threat from the United States and its allies. Obviously, if by this time things have started happening in the United States, then Israel may feel inclined to act sooner than they probably would have otherwise, and go and launch an attack on Iran's nuclear facilities, for which they will see a response from that. And Russia is warning the US and its allies against new dangerous steps in Syria. Russia has officially warned the US and its allies against new dangerous steps in Syria amid the growing concern that Washington may employ force against the internationally recognized government of the war-torn country following a staged chemical attack in Idlib province. We warn the US and its allies against new dangerous steps, Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova stated in response to the question about the development of the situation surrounding the Syrian chemical dossier. Despite the fact that the OPCW has repeatedly confirmed the complete destruction of Syria's military chemical potential under international control, a row of accusations and threats were again brought down to Damascus in connection with its supposed intention to use chemical agents in the province of Idlib. On September 11th, the UN Security Council held a meeting on the situation in Syria following the Russian-Iranian-Turkish summit in Tehran. During the meeting, the Russian representative, Vasily Nebenzia, called on the US-led bloc to reveal publicly its plans for Syria and stated that terrorists must not be allowed to hold civilians hostage in the Syrian province of Idlib. Terrorists must not be shielded because they all are one way or another linked to Al-Qaeda, the group we all started to fight after the 9/11 attacks, Nebenzia said. So it's kind of playing on, having that meeting on 9/11 and then using a 9/11 reference in association with going after terrorists is, quite politically clever, because it kind of makes you question as to why the United States is shielding these terrorists, what they call rebels. And it's really obvious they want regime change, and they want regime change because Assad is allowing Iran to set up bases in Syria, which Israel doesn't want. So as long as Assad continues to allow Iran to do that, the United States and Israel will continue to support the rebels or the terrorists from Russia and Syria's perspective, which means the two will never see eye to eye, which means that this war is definitely going to happen. It's only a matter of time, because Russia and Syria are not going to allow, part of Syria to be controlled by rebels/terrorists. And clearly, the United States and Israel are not willing to allow Iran to remain there. So it's all set up to go. And this is probably the biggest news here. US and Japan test missiles in huge show of force for North Korea. The US and Japan have successfully tested Japan's upgraded missile defense system off the coast of Hawaii. Now, considering how easily the North Koreans can be upset by shows of military force, military drills, exercises, stuff like that, it kind of makes you wonder why the United States and Japan have done this. And the fact that they've done it off the coast of Hawaii is of particular interest, because one of the theories is a nuclear missile being fired into the volcano from maybe a North Korean submarine, a Russian submarine, or a US-owned submarine that is alleged to be an enemy submarine, which is the more likely scenario considering NASA took themselves down there for whatever reason, and no reports of them resurfacing with that submarine have been forthcoming as of yet. Maybe they have returned, maybe they left something there while they were down there, such as a tactical nuclear device, which if we get any sort of fiery response from North Korea, it could set up the scenario for them being blamed for an attack on Hawaii that causes blah 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 blah. The scenarios keep on going, and they join up to each other. And the last report I've got here is the US allies readying effort to expose North Korean sanctions violations. So, in connection with Japan and the US having a huge sort of missile defense drill, if you will, off the coast of Hawaii, you have a report ready to, kind of target North Korea with sanctions violations, for which there would have to be consequences, again, kind of hampering or destroying the peace effort that has been ongoing and leading to a backtrack in terms of talks and China moving into the DMZ, while some are still hoping that peace can be achieved, but unfortunately it doesn't look like it's possible. So, you guys, I think that's everything I want to really say about this kind of time period. I will keep an eye on reports and keep updating, but I don't think there's much more in terms of new information or new interpretations that I've got it's basically just connecting them all now, connecting the dots, following those breadcrumbs that have been left throughout all these different reports and trying to connect them together and see this whole story that may connect to 923, which is one of these numbers that have been shown everywhere, and definitely a connection to 9/11 could possibly connect to a date range, as well as giving us a kind of final date for when the old world order ends and the new world order begins. And that could all be this year, 1 year after the Revelation 12 sign. So, with all that said, you guys, have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and may the Heavenly Father bless you.